Welcome, everybody, to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. This meeting is being cablecast by Area 58, Community Access Media, Channel 15, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. We've got a fairly robust agenda tonight, so we'll get right to it. We have two things under discussion and business. We will do the first one now, and then we'll do the second one after all the other hearings. So the first discussion tonight is a tree removal request from 20 Indian Street. So, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
So I just purchased the house back in September, and I think it was 6 trees that I marked. I'm not sure if you guys went out today to take a look at them. They're fairly close to the house. It's kind of a little worrisome, and the storm and everything. This past storm, I think it was last week with the 50, 60 mile wind, I was out back watching, they're pretty swayy and stuff like that. So just kind of concerned, not sure why when the house was built, why they didn't take those ones out, being so close to the house and everything, just for a concern, obviously. So that's why I would like to, see the next step to possibly see what to do to get them, if able to remove them, or what's possible.
Okay. The reason that they weren't taken out when the house was built was that they were not requested to be taken out, and based on previous rulings of this board, we have basically said that you can't build yourself into a situation where you have to remove trees in a buffer zone.
Okay.
So, basically, when we do allow trees that are a danger, they're either rotten and about to fall,
yep, or
they've grown up over years and now are a threat. But if we allowed people to come in and say this is the only area we're going to touch in the wetlands, and then build something and say, well, now that it's done, there's more of a problem. That would just set a precedent that we wouldn't be able to stop. So, based on prior rulings, I can think of one that was done up in North Carver off High Street. It was a similar situation with a new house being built. Yep. So, based on prior rulings, my feeling on this is that the trees need to remain because they are right within the buffer zone. And we went out, Ann and Emil and I were there today. The trees are healthy. They've got a good crown on them. They're bright green. They're a good healthy green. They're straight.
Yeah.
So my opinion, and I'll ask the opinion of the other members, but my opinion is that the trees should stay.
Yeah. So
if there's, in the future, because the trees are over 100 feet tall, and, snow gets on them, they get very heavy, and pine trees are very susceptible to snapping, breaking in storms. If there is a problem, we start to lose limbs or something happens to the trees, would they be able to be removed? He has a brand new 2-year-old baby in that back bedroom with his very close proximity to one of those trees. If one of those trees would come down with a child in the room, there's going to be a problem. So there is definitely danger. Those trees would definitely reach that house.
That could be said for virtually every house in this town.
yeah, so
Well, and we're talking about this particular.
I know we are.
yeah,
But-
so there were probably 6 other trees that present a potential danger to that home as well. Most yards in Carver have 100-foot pine trees. Mine does as well. Usually when we do take down trees, it's because they're leaning, they're rotted, they're compromised. You can see that they're really presenting imminent danger, but that was built with those trees there, and those are in a protected area. So we're, I think, disinclined to take down trees unless they're really have
Right,
something wrong
and
with them.
other things that we look for is if a tree is heavily weighted on one side or another, and the trees that you marked were their light source was from the side away from your house. So
Yeah.
those trees are heavier on the side away from your house, which has a tendency to make them lean
That way.
that way.
Okay.
So, does anyone else have any kind of comment on that?
No, I agree with what you're saying, though, as far as, those houses aren't that old.
Right.
Like I said, they were built with the trees there, so.
They were-
Unless the trees are compromised, I see no reason to take them down.
Yeah, then the trees looked healthy.
I agree. I'll say, yeah.
Emil, you have anything?
Yeah, I would just say that, Mr. Barth, when he came in to drop off the application on behalf of his son, had just brought up the question about these trees. I told him that it's kind of every commission does things differently, but the Carver Conservation Commission really takes a look at every tree request. And because this house was built so recently, as in like the permit was last year, this is a situation where, the lot originally was kind of limited, and so the developer, only had a certain little area where he could build the house in. And, the trees that you guys are requesting to remove are, within the Conservation Commission 65-foot buffer zone, which is, the area that they're more highly concerned with protecting. So we went out there today. They did appear to be healthy. There was one, that I thought might look like it's kind of leaning a little bit, but other than that, they did all look healthy. And I would just say if there is, a situation with an emergency where, parts of the trees are snapping off, breaking off, or start looking like they're damaged, that's definitely something that we would come and reconsider if that's the decision of the board. But I'm always happy to come out, take a look at tree work that you think needs to be done. I'd be happy to give you
Fair enough.
my
Okay.
opinion.
Understand.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, we'll get to the minutes later. We're going to do the continued public hearings. First up is off Rochester Road. This is the Panorad for the property on Rochester Road, the 3 lots,
I wasn't paying attention.
just off Route 58 past the old South Carver dump. We have a new plan, which takes into account some of the concerns that we had in previous hearings.
Hey, I'm Greg from Outback Engineering, representing Pierre Cole. At the Mass meeting, we discussed,
Copies of that.
everybody get it? Copy?
Okay, go ahead.
We discussed, as we discussed at the last meeting, we decided to go back out. And based on the soil samples and the evidence of hydrology and the wetland plants, we'd go and reflag part of the middle bog that appears to have some wetland indicators. And we drew this, did the reflagging and ended up with this section of the middle bog ended up being all mostly wetlands. That's where most of the soils were hydric, and it started to lean towards more wetland plants than upland. So if you have any questions about it, but that's pretty much how it came out. We put all our buffers in and everything.
All right, this plan looks a lot like what we assumed it might look like when we talked about it last time. So,
Wetland flags.
does anyone have any questions on this, on the revised plan?
I think you did a nice job
No,
based on our conversation, so we appreciate it.
it's a 65.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks so much
Emil,
for
are
going
you
back. And
are you all set with this? I mean, you're
Yeah, definitely. I think that area was the area that we were a little bit iffy on, and they went back and took into consideration our concerns with it, and that I think this is something that we can all agree on in terms of the resource area delineation. So there's no project proposed here at this time. It's just the delineation.
okay. Anybody else here?
Nope.
Anybody from the audience? It's a public hearing? No? Seeing no one approaching? All right, I will accept a motion to close the hearing on NOI-DEP SE 126680.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Carl and Dave. All those in favor of closing the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. It's approved unanimously. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for off Rochester Road, SE 126680.
So moved.
Nope, Gan can have it.
All right, Ann, second?
Second.
All right. Curtis, seconded. All right, so all those in favor of approving this ANORAD, this drawing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We are approved unanimously, and we're good to go. Thanks very much, appreciate
you.
it. It's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, continued hearing, 27 Wenham Road. We got a DEP number, is that correct?
Yes.
And it is
It's SE 126-684.
684? All right, very good.
Sure. Do you guys need to use the screens or anything tonight?
I think we're all right for now. I'm happy to pull stuff up if it would be helpful.
Sure, thank you.
All right, this is a continued hearing, so I don't have to read everything again. It's 27 Wenham Road, and good evening.
Hello. My name is Taylor Donovan. I'm an environmental scientist with VHB. With me tonight is Kyle Murphy from Galehead Development, as well as Eric O'Brien, who's the civil engineer for the project. When we left at the last hearing, we had not yet received the DEP final number, so we have received that. And a stormwater report, which was requested by our DEP reviewer, was submitted to them last week, as well as to Emil for your review and comment. If you, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to review it.
Yeah,
or
I
not,
did
but-
send it around, but it's a lengthy document.
Yes.
So I'm not sure how much of them they've had a chance to review.
So we're happy to answer any additional questions that you might have about the project at this time.
Do we have copies of the plan?
My large copies are downstairs. Totally forgot to bring them, but I can go run down real quick and grab them.
Do we have a small one, just to refresh?
Yeah. It's at the back of that packet there.
Can you guys sign in, please, if you didn't,
Oh, sure.
please?
Yeah, I'll run downstairs real quick and grab that
Okay.
actual plans.
Yeah, I mean, we did a site visit, I just want to kind of refresh my memory on this. Oh, yeah.
Would it be helpful if I pulled up the PowerPoint or the plans?
I don't know, if Emil gets
Okay.
the plans, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
We went through that the last time, I think we're fairly up to date on this. So we'll just give him a second. They all start looking alike after a while. Cranberry bogs.
Yeah, I did. I actually know.
Oh, boy.
Be careful what you ask for.
Oops.
Oh, jeez, Dave.
Dave carrying everything.
Can't take me anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Guess we're on the naughty list.
I guess so.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think, I mean, we went through pretty much the entire
Cool.
presentation before. I don't believe we had any questions at the time.
I've been here a couple times.
Is that correct? Do you have any?
Yeah, I do have, you know, kind of minor questions just about, in the notice of intent application, it kind of goes over the impacts to the BVW and kind of breaks down the impacts to the different resource areas, but specifically about the BVW, which would be the Cranberry Bog. The NOI says like there's like 300,000 something square feet of impacts, temporary impacts, and then it also says that the permanent impacts are like 20 square feet. So I was wondering if you guys could go just explain that a little bit deeper, why the like difference between the temporary impacts and the permanent impacts, and you know, what would be done, you know, to mitigate temporary impacts from becoming permanent impacts.
Sure. Yeah. So the temporary impact area is essentially the entire Cranberry Bog. And we considered the entire bog to be temporary impact because as a result of construction period work, I can't speak for what the contractor will do, but we had assumed that, you know, if they were to put construction matting within the entire area of the bog as a conservative estimate, just, you know, as they're installing the panels and posts, the temporary impact is just from them laying the matting, and that way, you know, covering the entire area, there's no room of, they're gonna follow this specific pathway through the bog, so that seemed like the best approach for us. But the matting will obviously be removed once the panels and the posts are installed, and the matting will be installed, you know, in an effort to mitigate for any potential impacts. And so usually when the construction matting is removed, the vegetation typically pops right back up. It's pretty resilient, and you know, cranberries are a very flat growing species to begin with. And then the permanent impact is just a result of the area of each of the I-beams that will be installed. So it seems like a fairly large amount of area for the temporary, but the permanent impact is really just from the posts that are being installed. And when we were assessing the impact numbers, we relied on the guidance document from DEP on proposing and permitting dual use projects, which we had provided to at the previous hearing. And kind of, you know, going through how they suggest applicants look at that. And reading through the guidance that it kind of gave at its core is if the project is not impacting the functions or values of the wetland in its current state, then it's not necessarily deemed an impact. And then if your impact is less than 5,000 square feet, or excuse me, if it's not deemed impact, then you're not limited to the 5,000 square feet threshold. Because the bog, the BVW, exists as a manipulated wetland resource area, the hydrology is manipulated, the vegetation is obviously manipulated, and that's the proposed use after the construction is completed as well. We felt comfortable that as we proposed it, is not impairing the functions of the bog in the future use.
So I think I had a question for you. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I did read the UMass Amherst research on dual use. And I think the question was more around, do you have a sense for, so the more shade, the lack of sun from the panels will probably reduce production, but did you have any estimate on that? Like in terms of the production of the bog?
Yeah, Kyle, I don't know if you've...
Yeah, I can speak to that. I guess we've, in our application to the DOER, where we submitted a predetermination application to the DOER to qualify as this, you know, agricultural solar tariff generation unit, and we assumed a 10% reduction in yields, but there's not really any like data available because this is kind of a novel concept, so we don't really have the historical data to reference that. But you know, we'll see how it goes, and I think like 10% is probably reasonable. But
Okay.
yeah, we'll have to.
Yeah, I know it's still,
have
they
to
don't
see.
have a lot of data yet, but,
Yeah.
you know, UMass Amherst is studying it, but I don't think even they have all their data yet. So I was just curious if you had any sense. Thank you.
Yep, of course.
Yeah, the system was designed with the design considerations mentioned in that policy as well, with the 10-foot panel height above the bog surface, the wattage of the system itself, and then the orientation of the panels as well, so.
Do the panels rotate? We've had other dual-use things where they move with the sun. Okay. So that helps with the production too, I guess, because you're getting some sunlight there.
It does.
And these are 20 years, the panels?
Correct. I mean, yeah, that's the term of the SMART. We'll get a contract through the SMART program, and it's a 20-year contract.
Okay. Do you know which variety of cranberries are there? Is it a newer variety, or is it?
They're early blacks.
Okay, so it's, okay.
Yeah.
So they're not something that's been engineered for a higher yield, like some of the other newer bogs?
No.
Okay,
not
all
to
right,
my knowledge.
okay. No, I'm just comparing it with the 10%, possible 10% reduction in yield. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions on this?
You are going to have fencing around it, you said too? Like, is it?
Yeah, that's correct. I guess in your site plans, if you have them in front of you, there's an access road around the cranberry bog. The fence is going to be on the exterior of that access road that surrounds the cranberry bog.
Just around the bog itself, not the road coming in?
Correct.
Right, and really the only major change is that you're straightening out the road a little bit for the fire department, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I think the only other question we had when we looked at the other dual use was does the fencing produce all wildlife from getting in and out, or you already answered this, didn't you?
Yeah, we spoke
Okay, I'm
about
sorry,
it at
so
the
you
last
answered this
meeting.
already.
Yeah, so I know there have been like a few minor changes that have been, there is a newer version of the plan set, which I will send along. Just with, as we're going through planning board, there was some like minor changes to the plans that didn't impact wetland resource areas or impact numbers. So I was waiting to see until those all got settled before sending you 5 different updated
sure,
versions
that's
of the
fine,
plan
that's
set.
fine.
But the newest set will show that there will be a 6-inch gap at the
Okay.
bottom, like we spoke about at the last meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone from the audience like to say anything or ask any questions? All right, seeing no one. I will entertain a motion to close the hearing on 27 Wenham Road, DEP 126684.
So, second.
All right. Who made the motion?
Ann.
Ann, and then Dave. Okay.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. It's approved 5-0. I will now entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent for 27 Wenham Road, NOI DEP 126684.
So moved.
Second.
Dave, Carl, it's like a bidding war. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Good to go.
I think you do need to issue a variance for this.
Oh, do we?
Under the bylaw, because there's work within the 65-foot buffer as well.
I didn't see that listed here. All right, well, okay, then I'll entertain a motion to approve a variance for 27 Wenham Road, 126684.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Carl and Curtis. All those in favor for granting the variance,
Not shown on
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, that's approved as well. Okay, now you're good to go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's all right. Okay, new public hearings. 20 Indian Street. This back to. This is a request for determination of applicability, an RDA. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:00 p.m. on Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, in meeting room number 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the request for determination of applicability submitted by Gunnar Bartha to determine A, whether the area depicted on the plans is an area subject to jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act, and B, whether the activities depicted on the plans is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and its regulations. D, this project is located at 20 Indian Street, Carver, Massachusetts, Assessors Map 93, Lot 1-4. All interested parties are invited to attend. Hi again.
Hi.
I should have just put you guys right after,
yeah,
one
it's
after
fine.
another. Sorry about that, I wasn't
No,
thinking.
no, it's fine.
Okay. Okay. So, we are here to discuss the shed that you have,
Started.
that you've placed within the buffer zone, within the 100-foot buffer zone. Emil, do you want to kind of
Sure.
mention some of the things that you mentioned today? We were at the site visit.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
And we
yep.
saw that a couple of weeks ago, and we were visiting your neighbor.
Yep, I think everyone's familiar with the site. The shed is located just at the rear of the driveway. It's within the 100-foot buffer, as you can see on the plan there. So it's a structure within the 100-foot buffer zone and it requires a permit from the Conservation Commission. When, they had initially started the shed, they had reached out to the building department and asked, if they needed a permit, which they were told they don't need a permit. However, they were referring to building permits, obviously, and not our permitting. So I've spoken to our building department staff, and we've discussed that that it needs to be something that's discussed with us when we do go before when we're talking about building structures within wetlands jurisdiction. This shed, it's located in the lawn area, existing lawn area as part of a project that was approved by this commission. I think it's a relatively reasonable request. It's a accessory structure to the building. The state regulations don't require people to file a permit for a shed of this size within a 100-foot buffer. It's considered an exempt minor activity. However, the Carver bylaw is a little bit more strict when it comes to building structures within the 100-foot and 65-foot buffer. This is just in the 100-foot. There is definitely room to build the shed outside of that area, but he's already started building the shed, and I think considering that he's got a new house and the property doesn't really have any storage for outdoor stuff. I think it's a reasonable request in my eyes, what they're asking for. However, it's up to the commission at this point to decide how we want to move forward. They've, requested a certificate of compliance for this project, for the house, and that's kind of what brought all of this about. So in order for, the developer, builder to get their certificate of compliance for the permit that they, got issued, we need to kind of resolve this. So, it's my opinion that it's not going to have a huge impact to allow them to build the shed there. But that's, just my personal opinion.
Is the whole shed in the 100-foot? I can't remember. Remember we had
I believe it's
No,
it's
no,
mostly
it's right
within the
here. No.
100, but I think there's a corner of it that's outside.
Oh, yeah.
A little more than half of it's in 100.
Again, as we mentioned with the trees, like this property was very limited in what could be built on the property. So the house was kind of squeezed into that area, mostly outside of the 100-foot jurisdiction. And so that's kind of why there isn't a whole bunch of backyard for a shed like this. Again, it could have been built outside of the 100-foot, but it's kind of where it is. So either the commission can ask them to move it, or we can issue this approval for, relatively minor project here.
Remind me again, how much of it is already started? Is it?
walls and the rafters are up.
Okay,
And
so-
then, yeah, and then we put a tarp over the top, because we tried to go about the right thing, so, you know, that's why we called the building inspector, and then once we found out we didn't, so that's why we started filing the right paperwork, because if we knew right away, we would have filed the right paperwork, of course.
I just couldn't remember how far along you were.
Yeah, it's pretty close to being done.
Yeah.
I think one of the issues here was I was here when we approved this house, and we didn't, we went back and forth a little bit on it because they initially had a garage on it. And the reason we asked them to take the garage off, because too much was in the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, the shed being in a 100-foot buffer just negates what we tried to do when they built the house initially. The house is squeezed into a lot that is very little room because of the wetlands. And I just, unfortunately, I think it, like I said, it negates what the intention from the beginning of why there's no garage there to begin with.
It's on sonotubes, right?
Correct, yes.
So the shed itself doesn't actually sit on the ground?
No, it's about, the back of the shed's probably close to a foot off, and then maybe the front, maybe like 6 inches or so.
I commend you for trying to do the right thing by going to the building department and
Yeah.
finding that out. But there are boundary markers, and I understand they're at the 60-foot mark, not the 100-foot mark.
Yep.
You know, there should have been an indication to you that there is wetlands in the area, and a little more research would have been prudent on your part, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I called the building inspector, I figured.
No, I know,
the house was
I
just-
get it.
well, The house was just built, so I'm sure they knew where the house was, you know what I mean? So I kind of figured they would look up the plot plan too and possibly relay that information, you know what I mean?
No, I get 100% what you're saying, 100%. 90% of the people in Carver would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I think some of our concerns, like I asked you at the last meeting, like what you were going to keep in there, and you did say gasoline, oil, and other things, and that, having that potentially close to the wetlands is just a concern.
Can
I
ask you-
realize you're not just putting gas in there, you're going to put other things in as well, but
Yep.
there might be some things that could be toxic to the wetlands, and that's what our job is to.
No, of course,
Yeah.
yes, I can understand.
Yeah.
All right, well, I just want to echo pretty much what Mr. Hall said, which is that when we originally approved this plan, the garage was taken out for the reasons that too much of the structure was within the 100 feet. And this definitely goes against, it takes away exactly what we ruled on before. It circumvents what we ruled on by doing, instead of a garage, a shed. Basically, it's the same thing. It's putting more structure in the 100-foot, which is what we asked the developer not to do when we granted the original NOI. I know I know it might be a hardship, but I think that. May I see that again? I think if there's a way that you can keep the sonotubes on the side of the shed that are closest to the road, where the front of your shed is now, and somehow lift that shed and move it the 12 feet closer to the road and put new sonotubes, so that the sonotubes at the front of the shed is on now become where the rear of the shed is, and that would get you, so that you would probably have more than 75% of the shed outside of the 100-foot, which I think would be acceptable for us. You still have more than, or yeah, a little bit more than half the house is it within the 100-foot. So I think that's kind of the way I'm leaning on this. I don't need you to move the entire thing outside of the 100-foot, but right now, a good 70% of it is within the 100-foot, and that just goes against what we had voted on as a commission when the house was first came before us. So that's kind of what I think is that what we're looking at as a?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern is always this precedent, and if, you know, everybody will come in front of us and say, I didn't know. You know what I mean? It just, we can't accept that as a reason for
Right.
allowing a project.
And, you know, I'm glad that Emil spoke to the building inspector. There certainly was some lack of communication in that respect, but there was also, and wouldn't expect you to know what happened when this property came in front of us the first time,
Yeah, yeah.
that the garage was asked to be removed because it was too much in. But still, that doesn't take away the fact that there is a wetlands bylaw that Carver has that restricts this kind of thing. And had you come to us prior to doing any construction, we would have asked you to move it. So, and again, as Mr. Miller said, precedent is what we need to go on. We have to set rules, follow them, so that everyone is treated the same way. So,
Can I ask a question? How much of the previous garage was in the 100-foot buffer zone that you rejected?
I think more of the house was in the buffer
You
zone.
had stated more of the shed. I mean, the garage was in the wetland.
I think
That's why you
where they
declined.
had the garage, it pushed the house more into the 100 feet. It moved it more to the west. The house was further to the west, and the only way they could do it and keep the setbacks and the driveway was to remove the garage and shift the house over. If memory serves, I believe that's exactly what happened.
That's correct, yes.
Okay,
And unfortunately, I mean,
yeah. So,
we can't go back on what we,
no, I know, I
No,
mean,
but
that was...
it's unfortunate that we
Yeah.
did the right thing calling the building department, asked the questions. You know, he's
100%
certainly...
agree with
and
you.
I'm not
yes.
privy on,
Yeah, it's
conservation. He is certainly not, he's a young, new owner, and now to
Right.
be penalized for trying
It-
to put up a basic shed that he's gonna store children's stuff and lawn furniture in is... and
I understand that.
significantly moving
I understand
structure
that.
is a hardship on him.
It's unfortunate that the building inspector didn't say anything, and it's on the same vein, it's unfortunate that no one looked at the regulations that are on our bylaws that would have prevented this in the first place. So,
We weren't told to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a case of a miscommunication because, so we have a building department which has, staff members that answer the phone, and when they are asked about a shed, they immediately go to, oh, what's the square footage? If you're under 200 square feet, they're going to tell you you don't need a permit from
building
our
permit.
department.
Right.
And that's where, I think it was, probably a pretty, brief conversation where probably no one looked at, the site plan in depth. And unfortunately, it is an oversight that, it's really a communication thing between our departments, the building department and the conservation department. And, it's something that we can definitely work on. Yeah, again, I think there is a difference between a garage and shed. A garage is on a slab, on grade. This shed is on four sonotubes. So I think, I don't have a copy of the old plan that shows the garage and everything, but I just think that it's a different, project that we're looking at now. And, I totally respect the commission's, way of looking at this, but, I just think, again, it's unfortunate.
But again, we
that-
go to precedent. The precedent is the next time someone does this, but they do put a pad down, and they don't tell anybody. And now it's, it's not sonotubes, it's a pad. I think we have to stick to our guns, and I think that we basically, the reasons that we didn't allow the garage in the first place is now being circumvented by putting a shed. That, yes, they're different structures, but it's the same footprint over the buffer zone. It's the structure on a buffer zone that is what we said no to in the original ruling, and I think that we have to stay true to what we'd said. So,
And like I said, there are boundary markers that are on the property. You know what I mean? It should have been, again, in hindsight, it should have been a red flag.
Yeah, it says no activity beyond.
Right.
this,
Exactly.
So
But-
it's not beyond that.
No, I get it, I'm just
You know
saying,
what I mean?
So that is, that's,
So if we move, what you're basically saying is move the shed 12 feet forward?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Keep the sonotubes that are in the front where they are, put the back of the shed on that. Just,
And
square it
just
up.
leave the old sonotubes that are in the back in the ground.
No, well, we'll dig them.
I mean, that's not gonna, I mean,
They're
there,
strong, you can pick
Yeah.
them.
it could be some kind of a game or obstacle course.
Something to trip over.
All right, so, is that the flavor of the board to have him move it 12 feet closer to the road, utilizing the rear sonotubes?
Yeah,
Or the front
unfortunately.
sonotubes as the rear?
Yeah.
Should we have vote on it, or what?
Yeah, we can do that. What,
Yeah, I
how do
would
we do
say
this?
you would issue a positive determination of applicability, basically stating that the work is subject to, regulation, and it's, it's not work that you're willing to, a permit in the location that it's at.
Okay,
And,
all right.
They
All
can
right.
move the shed, and that will be the
All
final
right.
resting place of the shed.
All right, so, okay. So I'll entertain a motion to,
Well, this is
to
a public
rule-
hearing, do we have to?
Oh, yeah. Is there anybody who wants to speak on this? No. All right,
So we get closed.
so, yeah, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Carl and Dave, all those in favor say aye. I will accept a motion for a positive determination of applicability, meaning that we do find that this is in violation, and that the solution is to move the shed 12 feet closer to Indian Street, utilizing the front sonotubes for the rear of the shed.
So moved.
Ann?
Second.
Dave? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay.
Thank
That's
you,
where we are.
guys.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. All right. 0 Mayflower Road. Request for determination of applicability. Yes, I will. 0 Mayflower Road, it's a request for determination of applicability, an RDA. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:00 p.m. on Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, in meeting room number 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the request for a determination of applicability submitted by Save the Pine Barrens, Inc. to determine A, whether the area depicted on the plans is an area subject to jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act. B, whether the boundaries of resource areas depicted on the plans are accurately delineated. C, whether the activities depicted on the plans is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act and its regulations. And D, whether the area and/or work depicted on reference plans is subject to jurisdiction of any municipal wetlands ordinance or bylaw of the town of Carver. This project is located off Mayflower Road, Carver, Massachusetts, Assessor's Map 122, Lot 2, Lot 4, Lot 18, Lot 10, and Assessor's Map 5, Lot 2. All interested parties are invited to attend. One second. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. We have, you can introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Catherine Harrelson. I'm with Save the Pine Barrens and also Community Land and Water Coalition. Save the Pine Barrens is a nonprofit organization located out of Plymouth, Massachusetts.
All right, thank you. It has come to our attention that in the last day or so, unfortunately, with not enough time to give advance notice, the application was filled out incorrectly. The application lists Fruit Dior as the applicant, and in fact, they're not the applicant. Save the Pine Barrens is the applicant. And Save the Pine Barrens is listed as the representative of Fruit Dior. And the way the application really needs to be set up is that Save the Pine Barrens is the applicant. And the second section of the application says, lists the address of the property. And that's where Zero
right.
Mayflower has to come in. So because that would become a matter of public record, that has to be fixed before we can hear this. Okay, does that make sense? And there would be no representative. It would just be, we Save the Pine Barrens as the applicant, property owner is Fruit Dior, no representative, because you're not representing, Save the Pine Barrens would be the applicant, they would be representing themselves, you would be representing them, and Fruit Dior would not have any representation because they're not applying for this. Okay?
That makes sense, yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
So you're going to have to resubmit the application and go through the process again, and we're going to see how quickly we can get the public notice out. And it may not be for our next meeting of January 8th. It may be for the 22nd.
For January 22nd?
Yes.
That is acceptable.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you.
okay, so thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, sorry, Catherine, that I didn't catch that when I initially accepted your application, and it was something that, was brought up by the council of the Fruit Dior in a letter to us this week, and, I discussed it with Savory, and we feel that is necessary, but we'll waive the fee for, reapplying. It'll be the same fee. I think that's fair.
Yeah, just because the paperwork's all a matter of record, it's got to be correct.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And Catherine, we did meet with their attorney about this. I don't know if you watched that meeting or not, but we had a substantive conversation about it, in case you want to, what was it?
Yeah.
What meeting was that?
December-
The last
He's
meeting. He's here, yeah. So it's November 6th, so just if you want to watch that on YouTube.
Yeah, okay,
I wasn't here at that meeting, so. All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's not even continued, that's going to be a new filing. So we're just going to X that out as being incorrect. Okay, 62 Main Street, NOI-DEP 126682, Notice of Intent. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, that a public hearing will be held at 7:00 p.m. on Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, in Meeting Room Number 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent submitted by Ellis Carver Realty, LLC, for the construction of a stormwater infiltration system and associated site work within a 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. This project is located at 62 Main Street, Carver, Assessors Map 71, Lot 9-1. All interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Good evening, Arthur Borden and Associates, along with Rick Ellis, the owner of the property. We're currently working through site plan approval with the planning board, and we have, I think, a simple request for the Concom in order conditions to build our infiltration system. It's outside of the 65-foot buffer. This area is already cleared. We'd like to build the infiltration system there and restore it to the grade that's there now, so that there's no filling in the 100-foot, there's no activity in the 65-foot.
Okay.
Oh, this plan's in here.
All right, three of us were out there today for, Ann and myself went out today for a site visit. We saw the property. It's all cleared, it's all flat. And we saw where you want to build this. It wasn't flagged where you wanted to put this, but it was, we had a good enough idea from the flags of where the structures are going to be. So Emil, do you have anything that you want to start us off with here before we ask any questions?
Yeah, so this came to me when the planning board initially received your application, and I reviewed it and just noted that there are wetlands to the rear of the property, and the parts of the project that are within the buffer zone are the stormwater management system, which is for the parking lot, I believe, not the roofs of the building. And then, in the landscape drawing, there's mention of proposed double weed guard covered with 3/4 inch natural stone, and that seems to, kind of wrap around the rear of the buildings outside of the 65, or partially within the 65-foot buffer, but, that's kind of the parts of the project that are within our jurisdiction, which is why,
So the weed guard is not anywhere near the 65-foot, no touch.
Okay, well, I think I'm looking at the landscape plan, and there's an area that appears to be like kind of cross-hatched, and I'm just, that's what I kind of read the plan as.
That would have been in here. Whoops.
Yeah.
It's
That's within the 100-foot buffer, right?
it's the other plan. It's the landscape plan. E.
So this area, this is the 65-foot buffer, so this back corner, that's the area that I'm talking about. And is this marking, is that representing the weed guard?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that's why I had mentioned there's a tiny corner of it around the infiltration system that is within that 65-foot.
It's in the cleared area, though.
Yes, and, that's another thing is that, this property was cleared before you were issued a permit from the conservation.
This was cleared years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Two or three previous owners.
Got it, yeah. I was just curious because I hadn't, I hadn't been out to the site before this, but.
We can certainly take the weed guard out of that area and just, put it over the system. That's easy enough to do.
Okay. Let me just make a couple of notes.
So it's that triangle of
Yeah, that will go away as far as.
weed guard is just
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that's like some kind of landscape fabric.
with stone on
which would
top?
be covered with gravel, which is,
Oh, okay.
gravel is considered a impervious surface based on stormwater standards.
Right.
Obviously it is a permeable surface compared to pavement, but it's still considered a, impervious surface. What's existing there right now is kind of already just like, fill and stone dust and whatnot. So, I guess it would be up to the applicant what they want to do with that area if they don't have, weed guard in that area.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. We noticed today at the rear of the lot, just before the natural slope goes down, that there seems to be piles of dirt that are a little bit higher than the flat area. It looks like it's been bulldozed back there and almost like a berm at the rear of that. Is that going to be pushed over or removed so that it's,
Yeah, we can flatten that down.
okay,
We had those thorns, these bushes that have thorns like an inch long. You couldn't drive a pickup or a car with it, you'd get it flat every time. So we scraped some, but a lot of that was already there, This lot was
Okay.
set up 20-something years ago, and all we did was clean it off.
Right.
okay. All right, well, we did notice it, and it was,
Yeah.
and it doesn't show on the elevation or the,
Are you concerned about drainage over there?
I just, yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure that.
Okay, I mean, you're gonna be putting in the gravel there anyway, so I just wanted to make sure that it was sloping down. It seems that the whole property slopes downhill slightly to the rear. Was
That's a
that,
good thing.
I know it is. I just was making sure that it wasn't just my eye seeing that. Is that,
No, I'm thankful for that, actually.
okay. So, the entire parking lot is going to be paved, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And there are no storm drains or manholes? Everything is just,
Well, there is a catch basin.
right,
And there's a drain manhole to direct the water.
but everything, gravity's going to take everything back to that
Yeah.
corner,
Yeah.
that back corner. Okay. That's what I thought. That's what it looked like to me. My last question is, on the plan that you show two areas along the, I guess, southeast property line, or near the property line, that look like they're fenced-in areas with two gates adjacent to the rear building.
Yeah, I think it's also on the
It's on the landscape plan.
landscape plan.
Oh. Yeah, it'd be toward the street. This way, put a couple of trailers and stuff in there.
Okay, my question was what's going to go there, because, everything that you're going to have here is draining.
Yeah, so
Into-
that, we're gonna pitch toward, so it flows around the back. It'll all be engineered so it flows, but that would be hard to, it could be stone if that was better.
I'm just worried about something coming out. I didn't know what was going to be
Yeah.
stored there, or whether
Yeah,
that was...
trailers
Okay.
that get rubbed, trailers.
I didn't know if it was going to be an area that you would rent out to somebody who would come in and do something else.
No.
And I was just concerned about what kind of materials might be falling onto the
Yeah.
pavement and then working their way back
Here.
to
Well,
towards the
Yes.
wetlands.
I've had other buildings and I have another building, but yeah, as far as people working on cars and stuff, no, it's messy.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we're gonna try to be very careful about the type of tenant, and keeping the outside especially very clean.
All right. Okay, those were my questions on,
Yep.
on this. Does anybody else have anything that they want to ask, bring up?
That rear building there towards the rear lot, the smaller building, is that a garage or is that, what is that?
Yeah, it's 4 small bays.
It's for the rear one, okay?
Yep.
And this proposed 2,000 gallon tight tank, it's a septic tank, is that, Mike?
No, it's to take care of the floor drains in the building.
The floor drains?
Floor drains go to a oil water separator, and the oil water separator drains to those tanks. They need to be pumped.
Oh, so they have to be pumped,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just in case oil or gas, whatever gets in
Right.
there, okay?
Yeah, anytime you have a building with with the ability to drive into it,
Right.
it's required to have floor drains. So each bay has a floor drain.
And is there any septic system or for the?
Septic is up in this.
Oh, there are
Okay.
two, right?
Got it.
Or
I don't
is there
see
one
it.
for each building? Just one? Okay,
Combined system.
all right. Any other?
Is there an outflow for the stormwater infiltration system?
No, it's all infiltration,
Okay, got it.
no outlet.
No overflow. Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other thing we noticed was behind that was an area that looked like it might be wetlands. They were dumping a lot of, stumps and detritus, basically from cranberry bogs. Remember we looked?
That's the
So-
property owner behind us.
Behind,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not us.
right.
Right, yeah, we saw that. There's a lot of trees and branches and things, but that's agricultural use.
Yeah, they did have a wetland scientist look at this property, and she did the flagging, and she did not mark that area as a wetland.
Okay,
So,
okay, great,
just for the record.
good.
So, Emil, what do you think of the filtration system being there right next to the 65? You think that's, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think when it comes to infiltration systems, like it's a positive thing to have those rather than just allowing runoff to come directly off of a large paved area. And I think, you know, sometimes it's necessary to put them, you know, in this site, everything's kind of pitched to the back of the site. So in order to get the water from the back of the site into the ground and to allow it to infiltrate and disperse, you know, that's kind of one of the major functions of the buffer zone, is allowing stuff to infiltrate and get it, you know, into the ground. So I think it's it's not necessarily like ideal that it's right there in the buffer zone, but for a site like this where you're trying to maximize the use of the lot, it makes sense that it's there. So, you know, I don't think it's necessarily a hazard to the wetland, as long as, you know, hazardous materials are being managed properly on the site.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really see any issue with it. Seems pretty cut and dried.
No, I agree.
Anyone else have anything? No. Anybody from the public want to say anything about this particular project? Nope, seeing no one moving forward. I will accept a motion to close the hearing for 62 Main Street, 126682.
So,
Everybody speak of that.
so moved.
All right. All right. Dave and Ann. It's been moved and seconded to approve or to close the hearing for SE 126682. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. It's approved 5-0. There was nothing within the 65 foot, so we don't have a variance. So I will entertain a motion to approve the NOI for 126682 at 62 Main Street. Anyone?
So moved.
Second? All right. Carl and Curtis. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That's approved unanimously.
Thank you.
You good? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to ask you, I will not just ask a question, but I think one of the funniest things that I saw was when you put the gate up.
Well,
You put the gate up with nothing on either side of it. And it was like that for like a week.
people were getting confused, it's a
Yeah.
temporary fence.
Right.
My cousin was chipping the brush and cleaning up. People actually drove 400 feet back there and asked them, is this where we can dump trash and brush? You see them cleaning it up, I don't get that. But, so we had to do something to try to deter that.
Well, for a week, about a week, it was just the gate with nothing on either side. And I just looked at it and said, that's really going to keep people
Yeah, that's
out.
effective, isn't it?
All right. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, board.
Okay. All right, next up is 16 South Main Street. I am going to recuse myself from this hearing. I am in a butter. I am going to become a citizen of Carver and an abutter to the property. I have spoken with the State Ethics Commission on what I am allowed to say as far as being a citizen and a abutter. I have the same rights of any abutter to speak. I just cannot use my role as chairman or member of this commission to in anything that I say. So at this point, I'm going to turn the gavel over to Mr. Hall, the vice chair, and I will join the massive audience.
Okay, this is 16 South Main Street, NOI DEP file number SE 126-683, notice of intent. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaws, that a public hearing be held at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, in meeting room number 1 at the Carver Town Hall to hear the notice of intent submitted by Nicholas and Sabrina Schneider to construct a 10-foot wide gravel driveway an 8-foot wide footpath, and an 8-foot by 8-foot wooden bridge within the 100-foot buffer zone to be bordering vegetated wetlands. This project is located on 16 Main Street, Carver, Mass. Assessor's Map 3, Lot 1-1. All interested parties are invited to attend. All right. So, let me look at this. I was out at the site also on a different day, just looking around because I couldn't make yesterday. I mean, this morning, rather. Did you guys go out to the site at all?
I have not.
And did. And it looks as though they want to put in a 8-foot wide footpath running down to towards Sampson's Pond, and there's a road over to the west, which they want to have a 10-foot gravel driveway. Both of these are certainly within 65-foot buffer. These parts of them, and some of them come really right next to the wetlands boundaries markers. So, what do you guys want to?
Yeah. Joe Webby, Webby Engineering, and with me is Nick Schneider. Nick owns this property, and if I may stand, he would like to construct a dwelling up in this area, but he would also like to have access to an upland down in this area near Sampson Pond. Currently, there's an existing gravel road that comes in this way, and he has started his own driveway to the house. What he would like to do is connect this with a gravel driveway, and then he would also like to have a meandering 8-foot footpath along this area. This will not require any stumping. This is just going to be meandered so that he can get to the walking path. This one here, he does want to have vehicular access, so it'll be 10-foot wide. We had Brookman Road delineate the wetlands, and there is an area right here that is an upland that we can just tweak by. There's a little isolated vegetated wetland here. This is a BVW that's hydraulically connected to a little ditch and a culvert right there. But basically, that's what Nick would like to do, is to get access to this upland in this area.
What do you think, Emil?
Yeah, so I think it's a issue of accessing, part of the property that, is a usable part of the property. So typically that's something that, we would allow, access for. In this case, there's kind of two different accesses. One would be the walking path, and the other one would be the driveway. So the driveway is kind of a little bit more of an impact. It's going to require a little bit more, just like being, stabilized and erosion control and stuff like that. So I think the driveway is really the bigger impact on this project. When it comes to the walking trail, we had met with Nick on site this morning, and he said he's, planning to meander the pathway through the trees so that it's not, causing, a bunch of trees to be removed and stuff like that. So I don't see that as being a huge impact, although I do think 8 feet is a little bit excessive, if you will, and it probably isn't necessary to have a walking path that's like 8 feet wide. So that's just one comment that I would have. Typically a walking path is some more like 4 feet wide.
Right.
I guess my only question would be like, in terms of the driveway, there's not really that much detail on what the actual surface of the driveway would be like and how it would be leveled to and stabilized to the necessary requirements for getting a vehicle down there. It's very close to the wetlands. So I guess my question would be like, how how would you construct the road in the areas that are closest to the wetland?
Well, we would put, we're proposing to have erosion control on both sides.
I do see
and then
that, yeah.
basically do the same thing that he has done with his driveway that he's cut in from South Main Street. You know, he's going to have to do some stumping and some grading, but it will be stabilized.
Okay. And then what's like the foundation of the road? It's just gravel, or is there some kind of fill that needs to be brought in?
So the hope is that it's going to be mostly dirt. So we would just be adding gravel, or if you have a different recommendation, just in the area that we need to potentially make it a little bit higher. But we want to keep it as natural as possible.
Sure.
Even though it indicates gravel, we don't intend on putting gravel 300 feet. It's just as needed, closer to that area that we need to.
Got it.
So dirt mostly is the plan.
Yeah, I haven't, walked on your new driveway, and I didn't really get a chance to see what that looks like, but, I assume.
It's just grass right now.
Okay.
Eventually we'll do something more to it, but currently it's just grass.
He doesn't anticipate using that gravel driveway much, but he needs that to get access.
Do you currently have access from the existing driveway? Do you have a right-of-way through there?
No,
You can't use that existing driveway at all?
no, that's not our land.
Okay. There's no right-of-way or anything like that?
Unfortunately, no.
And also where this, you propose a wooden bridge, there already is a culvert there. Why do you want to do a bridge there?
The property line is very close, so
Uh-huh.
there's maybe, if you come straight through there, there's maybe this much room,
Right.
so it's tight. So it was,
But it's only walking, right? I mean, right? So I sort of agree with Emil that you probably only need like 36 inches. You don't need, that's certainly ADA at least, for a walkway. I don't know, that's,
interior hallway's 4 feet.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think in the interest of just I think Nick's view is he's trying to preserve the trees for the most
Right.
part and just kind of clean up the area, and
Right.
over time, he really just wants to have access to having a walking area down there, or walking trail down there. So I don't know, I think it's reasonable that we condition it to be a 4-foot walking path rather than an 8-foot walking path, just so that there's not excessive tree clearing and stuff like that.
6.
4 is fine. I mean, really, it's just, we're not trying to sneak anything.
No, no,
It's just a walking
8 feet
path.
just seems a little excessive, like
I think the thought was, ticks or whatever.
Right.
But I don't plan on cutting any trees. It's really, we're gonna find the least path of resistance and just kind of take the dead stuff off the ground.
So if you did clear a pathway there, would you put wood chips down or something, or just
No,
leave it natural?
Just leave it natural.
Okay.
No, I agree, 8 foot I thought was excessive and kind of lends itself to having a vehicle brought down there at some
Exactly.
point. And that would be my concern.
And I don't necessarily think that if you narrow the pathway, then you don't have to worry about the bridge, right? I mean,
Dirt bike can still go down a 4
and the culvert looked pretty substantial down there. I mean, it looked like it'd been there a while. It's not going-
It's,
it's
I
not going
believe it's been there a long time. It's
Yeah.
just the way the property line is, it comes over the culvert.
Right.
So I don't know if it's 2 feet or 3 feet, but it's very narrow for where you would have to make the path, which is not the least resistance, to come over that culvert in that area.
So the bridge
Yeah.
would be like, would that be something that's just laid over the existing culvert? There's no work proposed to the culvert?
No work proposed to the culvert. It would just be maybe a little bit further off the property line over that trench. Again,
Okay.
just, we put it on the plan, but it's where it makes the most sense to be the least disruptive, where we can just lay it down.
Okay, so it's not necessarily directly over the top of the existing culvert?
Correct.
Oh, got it.
Maybe a little bit, if you look at the plan, it's a little bit over.
And I would say the culvert, we saw one end of it, but it's definitely not fully clear. So at some point you may have to deal with it
Yeah.
being, I mean, Savory knows a lot has like the history of it. So apparently it flows, but
It's an
it's
intermittent
old.
stream.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's not totally clear. There's a lot of debris down there, but I guess it flows, so.
So how are you accessing off of South Main Street now? Is it,
There's a 45-foot, it's a rear lot.
okay, up on the corner up here at the,
Yes.
I just have I don't know, I hate people not be able to access their property, but putting a gravel road through this, basically you're right, going through a wetland. You know, I mean, it seems pretty intrusive, if you ask me. I don't know what you.
The only thing I would say about it is that part of so the wetland off of the property that's marked on there is essentially a barn foundation that is left over from a previous barn that was there.
Right.
And to me, it doesn't really have wetland characteristics. It's more of just a low spot in the land that is, it's causing flooding in that area. So I don't know that that's a very high value, like wetland resource that's shown off of the property. The rest of the area is kind of just like an extensive BVW that, extends off of the like one area that, ponds up in the middle there. And it is certainly very close to that. But, it's in looking at this property, there's only, really that is the only way to access the lower, part of the property if you want to drive down there with a vehicle.
But it's that, like, flag F-23, I mean, that road's like right on top of it, I mean, it's
Yep.
like,
Yep.
I mean, it's still considered a wetland though, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
I-
yeah. Yes.
It drives like right through them.
it's right next door, yeah.
So, I don't know. Any other comments from you guys? You want anybody else to ask them?
No, I got the same concerns you have. When I
Yeah.
saw it, yeah.
So I guess Savory, you'd like to say something too, right? Or would you?
I would.
Yeah.
Please sign in.
I was gonna say that, but he got it before me.
Savory Moore, 12 South Main Street. I'm a neighbor of Nick and the abutting property owner on the east side of the property. I spent all my summers here as a child. I was first in Carver in the summer of 1956 on this piece of property, which was owned by my family at the time. We had 17 acres. And I lived in the suburbs of New York City, and this was my escape. This was, I grew up in these woods. I grew up loving Carver because of these woods, and I'm probably sitting, probably the reason that I joined this commission at some point is because of how much this area meant to me. Just some things I just want to point out about the wetlands area. The main part of the wetland area, which is here, is a vernal pool. It has all of the attributes of a vernal pool. There are tree frogs and salamanders and peepers. In the summer or in the spring, April. That area is full of water from January till May. It runs, the overflow from the vernal pool runs down the trench, the riverbed under the culvert, and makes its way towards Sampson's Pond. Generally, because the soil is so sandy, the water never makes it all the way to the pond. The trench actually kind of disappears and becomes a flatland about 30 feet from the water. So it's not connected to Sampson's Pond, which is part of the criteria that does make it a vernal pool. It's been looked at by our previous conservation agent who went out there and did all of the necessary functions to determine that it was in fact a vernal pool. So it's an area full of wildlife, and it's it certainly deserves to be protected. Actually, there's the easiest way to get to that vernal pool from the existing driveway is on a path that has been carved by deer, and it's wide enough to walk on. So there's a lot of wildlife there. The wetlands that are adjacent to the existing driveway on the southwest side next to the Griffith property, that's wet for a little bit less of a period of time, but it's generally wet from, I would say, February till early April, standing water. The area where they're proposing the 10-foot wide driveway along the property line on the west side, adjacent to the barn foundation, that area has become wetter than it was when I was growing up in all the years that I've been here. That used to be relatively dry, and I don't know if the land has just sunk over time. The barn was not there in the 50s. The barn was probably taken down in the 40s when there was a transfer of not ownership, but a transfer of who was living in the house that's up on 58, the John Savory house. So that area, as Emil pointed out, that area is less of a wetland than the other areas that I see there. Again, my concern, if any, is the width of the walking path. I just, I think, in talking with Nick, I've met Nick a few times before. He came down to introduce himself when he was buying the property, which I thought was great. And from what he tells me, and I have no reason not to believe him, is that he's going to do it the right way and save the trees and just have a meandering walking path so they have quicker access down to the water. I just, I think the width of it needs to be controlled so that that four-wheelers and ATVs and things like that can't be used at any point. It just remains to be a walking path. I think that Nick is going to be a good steward of this property. It's an important piece of property. It's been untouched for years, almost my entire lifetime. I think that where the location of the driveway is the least impactful based on my history with this property, and my minor concern with the walkway is that it not be overbearing and be wider than it needs to be for people to transfers by foot. So that's pretty much all I want to say on this subject. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know, I can't justify that driveway. Just because it goes right through the middle of the wetlands. I have a hard time with it. I don't,
Can't justify what?
allowing that driveway to go through there. I mean, it's going right next to the wetlands. We wouldn't, on any other property, we wouldn't allow it. I mean, I don't think so. The pathway's fine. I don't know if the wooden bridge is necessary either, but that's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. As much as I want him to have access to his area down here, it's just gonna have to be foot traffic. Yeah.
Mayor,
Yeah, sure.
on that subject alone, the existing road is right in here.
Right.
And obviously, that's very close to the
Right,
wetlands.
right.
Also, and I think if we take a walk down there, we see that there's very little impact on that driveway on the wetlands through the years. And I really think that we're only talking about a little bit in here. if you know what I mean.
I understand what you're saying.
We'd like to get access, and this is not going to be used every day as a driveway.
Well, there's one more fact, is that that driveway, the front house does have an easement to use that driveway. So I don't have an easement to use their driveway to get to the pond.
You do not.
I do not.
Yeah.
So that is our driveway, the one we're trying to connect to, but the one up top, which someone asked me about in the beginning, they're allowed to use that to drive down to the pond and back. So there will be vehicles regardless on
This part of the road.
on the existing
On the
gravel
existing-
driveway.
On the existing
Right,
road.
right.
Yeah,
And they're not allowing you to use that to get down to the pond?
no.
All right,
Which would
well,
require us to go to 158 and drive around and go through their driveway. I don't think that's a reasonable ask.
No, probably not.
If I could ask, what is the reason for wanting to have access with vehicles in the lower part of the property?
There's uplands down there that we need to maintain, and
from what I saw though, that it was mostly just low vegetation, a few large trees. I don't know. I can't justify having that driveway there. That's in my opinion.
there's a small field.
Yeah.
There's,
I mean-
there's a beach.
I mean, if you wanted to, do any kind of maintenance, you could certainly go down the walking path, whatever you needed to use. I mean,
With a lawnmower,
just push it,
push a lawnmower
Yeah,
on
I
a
mean-
6-acre parcel.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not gonna be as easy to access the area with, lawnmower equipment, stuff like that. It's gonna be difficult, especially if is keeping the walking path like very limited in terms of the scope of what, he's asking for. I think.
I just have a hard time putting it through wetlands, that's all. Any other,
Yeah, I
it's just,
totally see what you're saying.
It's a dilemma.
The way
really.
that this
I mean,
is flagged, it's not showing any wetlands actually, being filled in, but it is, it would be filled directly.
And you're right on top of
Right
it.
on top of the wetland, yeah.
Is part of the purpose to have this driveway so that you can get access to the pond for like boats or something? Is
Yeah.
that part of the intent? Like, this is your frontage right down here.
Yeah,
And right now, do you have access to the frontage other than just walking?
just walking.
Walking.
Where we're proposing to put the driveway.
Right.
That's how we get there now. We just walk through it.
Well, the road doesn't exist to the front, the waterfront. How is this here? What is from the existing driveway down to the water, what does that consist of?
This is all just upland and wooded area.
Okay.
It's like,
There's a small meadow.
slow grassland, a little bit of grass. It's
And
not
then,
like,
and then there's a gravel path that exists currently. So there's a gravel road that runs from that upland area to where we're trying to connect that's existing, that runs right along the wetlands.
Okay. But it's not shown on this, down to the water? I'm asking, is there a road that goes from the existing driveway down to the water or any kind
I
of,
think it's a pathway.
Just a
I'm not
foot
sure
path?
it's a road.
It cuts into it's two roads. One goes this way towards the culvert, and then one goes straight and then dies off somewhere a little bit before.
okay. I'm with Dave on this. It's hard to justify going that right through the wetlands like that.
I mean, problem with the walking path, but that I can't justify it. And not, it's not you guys, it's nothing personal, but it's just, if we allow that, then anybody else would say, oh, I want to put a road down through wetlands. I mean.
Well, it's not through wetlands, it's near
well,
wetlands.
Well, yeah, but it's definitely within a no disturb zone, and it's just, something that we don't normally allow to happen.
It's right on that flag.
Yeah, right on top of a
It's
flag.
right on two flags, actually.
Yeah.
We did file under the limited project, which does allow us access, not in your regulation, I'm
Right.
not quite sure about your supplemental regulations, but a limited project does allow going right through the wetlands if you're only access to an adjacent or additional upland is on your property. And we did file under the limited project.
I don't know what that means.
So basically, there's many reasons to file for a limited project, but one of the possibilities for a limited project would be creating a road access way. I think I have a copy of the exact regulations. It's a little bit of a, might take me a minute to find it, but.
What is the width right now of the existing driveway? I know we walked it, but I don't remember. It's like maybe 5 feet or something, the existing driveway? Yeah.
Oh, you could drive it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
It's just about 8 feet, maybe 7.5.
Oh,
8
okay,
feet.
okay. I saw it today, but I just,
it's a proper driveway.
it's just that it comes to that little bridge, right? So it does
Right.
get narrow at that point. Yeah.
So
It was used as an active driveway up until fairly recently.
So this is under the state regulations, not the Carver wetland bylaw. So the Carver wetland bylaw is a lot more strict than the state regulations, and it limits any construction or disturbance within the 65-foot buffer, and it requires a variance. For this project, it would require a variance to build something, it's right on top of wetlands, not, 65 feet away. In any case, the limited project under the state regulations, again, there's multiple different types of limited projects, but for roadway access, it says the construction of a new access roadway or improvement, repair, and replacement of existing access roadway needed to transport equipment to a renewable energy project site where reasonable alternative means of access of upland area is unavailable, provided that it is carried out in accordance with following general conditions. So I think that specifically is talking about a project that's like, renewable energy project.
Yeah, but I think if you go to E, what is which one that one is? I think it's 10.
Yeah, but that's existing, we can't, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
But now we're talking about.
Sorry, the construction and maintenance of a new roadway or driveway of minimal legal and practical width acceptable to the planning board, where reasonable alternative means of access to from a public way to an upland area of the same owner is unavailable. So that's the one he's referring to, is it's creating a new roadway of minimal legal and practical width acceptable to the planning board. I guess in this case it would be Conservation Commission, where reasonable alternative means of access to a public upland area by the same owner is unavailable. So this is a case where, he's trying to access this part of his property, but he can't use the existing driveway. So they've applied for this under a limited project. Doesn't mean you have to approve it, but under a limited project, you can, I think, disturb, it's up to like 500 square feet of a BBW. And that would, be something like actually filling in BBW.
Right.
Again, these are the state regulations, so it's a lot
Right.
less strict than what we're working on here.
And we really do want to be as minimally as invasive as possible. I'm not proposing filling in wetlands or anything like that. I mean, I think that we may even be able to just drive cut some saplings and brush down and maybe get through it without adding anything at all. But of course, we're here, so we're gonna ask for the gravel.
You could almost drive it now.
Yeah, we can almost drive it now. Yeah.
Just down here, because it's an old farmland. There's kind of a way almost down there.
Yeah, we were out there
Stone.
today. I mean, it's obviously like there's certain areas, especially this part where it's wet, where there are more trees that are kind of in the way. And Nick mentioned that he'd be willing to move it to make sure that he's doing minimal cutting, but it's definitely going to require some kind of grading and stabilization to get through that one kind of low area.
How many trees you propose on taking down?
For the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be more than willing to go out there and stake it out for you. We can count trees. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I was looking for a rough idea. I mean, you talking 15, 20 trees?
No,
3 or 4
like
trees?
Three,
or-
three maybe, hopefully one, like real tree, otherwise like maybe some
You
sap.
said right now, there's nothing keeping you from driving down there right now, right?
Well, there's-
Really, almost, yeah, you'd have to squeeze around.
You'd have to, like, if you had a small vehicle, you could probably get
If
through.
you were willing to scratch up and ruin your car,
Right.
push through the woods.
Just the
like a
first guy
teenager,
scratches his
Yeah.
Right.
then you could probably do it, but there is saplings and brush.
Yeah, it's not practical.
Yeah.
No, but if you were, this is what I'm thinking, if you were to just clear the area out where you want, and not even grade the road, just to be able to drive down
You
it,
could do that.
you could do that.
Definitely do that.
Without paving anything, without disturbing the
We
ground
don't
at all.
pave anything at all.
I'm not getting any kind of earth moving equipment down there, just drive through it.
Yeah, you'd need a good brush hog, but yeah.
Do you want to continue this and go look at it? You know, what do you guys think? Again? And do it sort of I mean, there's nothing stopping anybody from driving an ATV through the woods, but I get that, you know, but, I don't know. I don't like the idea of a road being put through the,
Yeah, I don't like the idea of heavy equipment going through there and
Right,
paving,
right.
you know, not paving, but
Yeah,
cutting out a
yeah.
road.
but I mean, there's nothing stopping you from driving your vehicle across your land, you know what I mean? But
If they can-
I think actually putting an official road in is a little intrusive, I don't know.
So, just a crazy idea,
Yeah.
I don't know if this helps or not, but in deciding where you're gonna put the footpath and the road, would it be any less intrusive to put the road where you have the footpath?
We could, but we're gonna have to cut down
I-
150-foot trees.
I think
and,
it'd be
like,
worse.
We
Yeah.
could absolutely do it.
I mean,
if you
it's not as
insist.
close to
I
the
think
Yeah,
it's
it is. I
terrible.
think it's not necessarily as close to
Close to
wetlands
wetlands, but
in
it's-
that
it's
area,
more
but when you get down
forested.
here, it does become, you know, it's
More
right on.
forested.
It's the same situation. You're right on top of it.
I know that at West.
But this area is definitely more vegetated in terms of what you would need to clear.
Okay.
That western edge of the property is pretty open, and relatively. Yeah, so. I don't know. Should we continue the meeting and then go look at this again, or revisit this, or do you guys want to?
I'd like to put eyes on it myself, to be honest with you.
All right, so why don't we continue to the next meeting and then see what happens? Would that be the thing to do? Look at it some more, but we don't, and maybe get a drawing with, have it, what, a 4-foot path, and then, and no wood bridge? I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, is that something that we could?
I just have one quick question about that. The existing driveway, how long ago was that put? Was it recent, or was it like a long, long time ago, or do we?
Oh, this one here,
Yeah, the existing one there, is that?
we could ask,
Savory, how long ago was that driveway put in?
At least 69 years.
60, okay, so it's been there. In other words, it wasn't put in just like.
How did you come up with that number?
That was 2 when I.
All right, so why don't we continue this, all right? Did you guys want to take a look at it?
Yeah, and I'd like to come up with a plan that is least intrusive to the property, to what you want to do. You know, barring bringing equipment in there and putting in a gravel road, if there's a way to do it by just, like you said, run a brush hog through there and access it that way.
So,
That would be my preference.
so we have motion to continue, right?
I'll make a motion to continue the meeting.
If there's no other public comments, I assume there's
No
not.
other public comment, right? Nobody else, okay. Motion,
Bob, you didn't come here to say anything on this, did you? You don't have anything to say on this, do you? Just say no so we can move on. Okay.
so motion to,
Actually, I'm sorry, I do. Not about this, just in general.
Okay, we're
Okay.
we're gonna
Sorry, so
finish.
we're
We're gonna
gonna
finish
close
this first.
wait till a minute, 1 minute.
I make a motion to continue the hearing.
It affects it.
Oh, okay.
The doors downstairs were locked. And if this is a public hearing, you could have an issue if anyone tried to get in or whatnot, like I did to the thing. Just to let you know, there was an issue getting in.
We're gonna continue that.
So what's the, when's our next meeting?
I believe it will be January 22nd. Yeah, because we don't have any filings for the 8th,
Okay.
and I'm gonna be on vacation for the time between Christmas and New Year's, so we don't have any time for accepting new applications.
So
it'll
continue,
be
continue
January
this on
22nd.
January 22nd then.
I make the motion to continue the meeting till January 22nd. Another hearing.
Here, a second? right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
So hang on.
Okay. We're gonna move on to the next thing. I guess Xavier can come back up here. Unless, if you don't want to, you can stay over there.
Well, we're trying to work something out with the, you know, the neighbors or something. Yeah, neighbors do that all the time.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go back to our agenda. Back to discussions in business. Discussion of the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Do we have final language that we want to look at and vote on? Yet?
I haven't finalized the articles. That's something that I'm working on now, and I think it's going to take some more time before we actually can vote on those. But I think I put in the placeholders for 5 placeholders for the town meeting warrant 2025, and we discussed what are on those. So the really only reason I added it today was so that I could mention the fee schedule that we had discussed last time, changing the wetland delineation ORAD fee. Currently, it's at $2,000 for every project, and I wanted to change that to charge per square foot like the state does. The state charges $2 per square foot, and they have a maximum of $2,000 as a maximum fee. Right now, we're charging just $2,000 for every project.
Okay.
So I would recommend changing that to also $2 per linear foot, and then having a maximum. And I don't know if we want to change the maximum from what it is, which is 2,000, or we could increase it. So I think that's.
Do we know what other towns' maximums are?
I think most towns aren't charging per square foot. I think most towns are just treating it same as an NOI application. So I think it'd be fair to leave it at 2,000,
Okay.
kind of like we have it now. But I was just, I wanted to bring that back up so that we have something that I can draft up.
All right.
Our fee schedule is not actually part of our bylaw. The bylaw doesn't read anything on the fee schedule other than it does mention the NOI fee and the RDA fee. But the fee schedule is a totally separate document that we just drafted up. So I'm not really sure that we need a town meeting vote to change that. But the one thing we do need to, if we want to change the fines, which we discussed at the last meeting, the fines are in the bylaw. Right now we have a $50 per day fine for anyone who's in violation of the bylaw. And so we had talked about increasing that. So that would be definitely needed to be voted at town meeting. And so, I think a reasonable thing would be, right now it says anyone who is in violation of the bylaw shall be charged $50 per day fee or fine. But I think it should read that they may be charged up to a certain amount, and I think a certain amount would, like a reasonable amount would be like $300 to $500, somewhere in that range.
As a maximum?
Yeah. Per day, obviously. So I think in certain cases, like fining someone $300 is a lot more effective than saying, here's a $50 charge. So I would recommend somewhere in that range. So I wanted to bring that one up again for discussion. I think our other ones are pretty straightforward. Adding the wording of Cranberry Bog into our statement of jurisdiction, and adding the definition of Cranberry Bog. So I think I'm ready to draft those all up, but I just wanted to bring it up again to, I'm gonna look into whether we need to have a vote at town meeting to change our fee schedule. I don't think we do, but right now we have 5 placeholders for town meeting articles. And so, you know, we need to get those drafted and finalized. So that's what I'll be working on.
Okay. Has Elaine given you a date by which we have to submit the
She did
actual
not give me
articles?
a specific date, but she said as soon as possible in her email. So I think, you know, probably sometime in January would be, you know,
Okay.
best case scenario. Yeah.
All right. Is it possible for you to get draft warrant articles to all of us before you
Yes.
go away?
Yeah, I can certainly circulate those around once I've drafted them up, and we can take a look at them, because I think there is a vote, like that we need to take a vote on it, you know, just to say that we support it before the town meeting. So that's part of the article. It says, you know, the select board voted this and the Conservation Commission voted this.
Well, if we're the sponsor of the article, then it's assumed that we voted yes. I mean, we have to put in what our vote
Sure.
was, you know,
Sure.
numbers. But also these have to go in front of the select board for their acceptance onto the town warrant.
Yep.
And they have to have a public hearing on it.
Yep.
So there's a timeline involved there as well. You said we have no hearings on the 8th of January?
We have no new applications, you know, unless we somehow receive something tomorrow. I'm going to be away from, I'm off this Friday and I come back on January 2nd, so I won't be able to accept any new applications for the 8th. So, you know, I'm going to recommend that we just continue to the 22nd.
And we don't meet on the 8th at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Unless you guys want to meet. Just
Well, let's
to
look at the
discuss
drafts and let's see if, you know, talk to Elaine and see if there's a date that she has in mind for getting these things.
Sure.
Doesn't leave you a lot
Yeah.
of time though, right? I mean, you got.
I should be able to do it. I mean, I think I can probably bang them all out in one day.
Okay.
So
All right. Yeah, but
it'll
I
take
think we
me
all
some
should look at
time,
them
but yeah.
and check language.
Thankfully, right now it's kind of holiday season, so we're kind of through this was a big meeting for applications, but I haven't been receiving any applications for our next meeting yet, because a lot of consultants are on vacation or.
Going away.
Okay.
No one's thinking about it.
I did just have one other thing that our town planner had asked me to.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, to discuss the Mullen Rule, so.
Yes, we've been asked to weigh in on our opinion on the Mullen Rule, which allows for a member of the board who misses a meeting to, after certifying that he or she has watched the meeting that he or she missed on Area 58, is allowed to participate and vote on anything that is continued to the next meeting. So if you miss a meeting but watch it and certify that you have watched it, then you're back in the graces of being able to vote on it.
We're not precluded from voting on it now, are we?
If you miss a hearing, and it's
And it was continued to the next one, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
because you haven't heard the whole thing.
And there are limits on it, like someone can't stay home all year and just watch a video.
That's a separate rule.
Yeah.
I mean,
think it's like
it's
they
three
can- yeah.
meetings, I believe, if you
'Cause that
miss
would be
3
my only
meetings.
concern, is that
I mean,
we do want people coming to meetings.
during
generally.
COVID, that's the way it was done in a lot of other towns. You know, everything was
Right.
remote. So I can't see that it's an issue, really. I mean.
Right. So this would fall under matters unanticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance, but Mr. Bott does want our recommendation, one way or the other, to support the Mullen Rule so that he can place it in his warrant article, you know, again, as being a board that has had said it. I personally, I think it's a good rule, especially, not so much for us, we've got a 5-member board, and, you know, if someone's absent, it doesn't really affect too much of what we do, but there are other committees in town that are looking for people, and if someone misses a meeting, work officially kind of stops, you know, and this allows for things to continue if someone is ill and at home, but watching, you know, is going to watch it.
What's the disadvantage of it, though? Like, if you, just people taking advantage of it and not showing up to meetings, is that?
No, I don't, the disadvantage, if any, is just people saying they watch it and they don't.
They don't, right?
But.
Well, they're also not going to ask questions.
There's no way to, no, I know, but at some point, you just got to trust that people are going to
My
do the
only
right
issue
I mean,
is,
they're
I
not
think
gonna
this
ask
will be
questions.
What's
the
that?
third year in a row that this has been on the town warrant. And I know in 2023 it was voted down by the town. No, I mean, like I said, my own, it's a personal thing, but it's just like.
I know.
It keeps going back every year after year until we
Well-
get it to pass, and somebody
So
wants it
I
to
think
pass.
one concern I have is that if you're not present a lot, you're not able to ask questions, so you're not really
You're not really
fulfilling.
part of the.
You're not really
commission.
fulfilling your role as a
Right.
commissioner or whatever.
Right.
But
Right.
as long as there's limits on it, so it's like if it's once or twice, whatever.
Right.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't want someone sitting at home all year and then just still voting.
Right, but
That's-
I mean, you know, there are people who have, you know, unfortunately, sometimes debilitating
Yeah, yeah,
injuries
I
or
get
diseases
it,
that
yeah.
preclude them from physically being somewhere. And,
Right.
and this allows them to certify that, yes, I did watch the meeting, and are allowed
Yeah,
to vote when they return if those
Yeah.
hearings are still active.
I know
And I
this-
think sorry, Ann,
Well,
go
this is
ahead.
a different issue. It's like, I think people should be able to actually attend remotely if they have physical issues. And that way actually participate in the meeting, but that's another issue. That's not the.
That
vote.
is a different,
That is
that's
actually
a different thing.
It is a different issue, but I am in favor of that.
I would just say that this comes into play when, you know, especially when there are less people on the board. Like, say one of you was to have to drop off the board, and there's only four of us, and then you know one person's absent, and that makes like a 3-person quorum. So it does help out, have some flexibility in certain circumstances. Like, obviously right now we're in a good situation where we have, you know, plenty of people on the commission, but you know, 5 is even small for some towns. A lot of towns have like 7-member conservation commissions. So
Right.
it's something that, you know, it really doesn't come up that often, but it's helpful for just, you know, getting the business done. I know this is something that Tom he's asking the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board, and maybe the ZBA, I'm not sure.
I think so.
But yeah, I think he's just asking for everyone's kind of vote on this. So he asked me to ask you guys to actually vote on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will entertain a motion that the Conservation Commission endorse having the Mullen Rule added as or to endorse the town warrant article that allows for the Mullen Rule to take effect in Carver.
So moved.
Second?
No
Well,
seconds.
the reason, I want to know that there's a limit on how many times you can do that. That's my only concern. If it's 3 times a year, then yeah, that's fine.
Well, the way it would be written is no limit.
There's no limit.
Right.
That concerns me, because that's not really a fully functional member.
But there are other rules in effect that take care of that. That if you do miss 3 meetings, I believe it's 3 meetings in a row, then you're at jeopardy of losing your seat. And that is apart from the Mullen Rule. This is just something that allows you to vote on something
Yeah,
that you.
That you happen to miss once.
No, I totally understand what it is, I just
Right,
don't want to see it
it's not
abused.
a free pass.
I
to
think
not-
this is something that we could just vote as like whether you support or deny it, or
Yeah, that's
don't support
right.
it. I don't think it's fine if you don't support it. This is just
Right,
Tom.
so I mean, all
I
you want to
mostly
do is have a
support
vote.
it. I mean,
Yeah.
All I want to do is have a vote, because we're not going to meet again until January 22nd. We're not
Right.
going to meet again for over a month. So I just need someone to second it so we can have that vote.
Like, my only issue is this has been in front of the town meeting 3 times in a row, and it keeps
So
getting shot down.
If you second it, we can just vote it down and.
No, it's-
Yeah.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to vote to support the Mullen Rule. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed?
I wish I could just abstain.
You can.
You
I'll
can't.
abstain.
Abstain, one abstention. All right, so it passes 3-1-1. Last but not least, the minutes of December 4th. Has everyone read them?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, there were a couple of minor revisions that I gave to
And this is the wording of the Mullen Rule.
the person who matters the most.
I did read it, but I still didn't see.
Just take a read of
Speaking
it,
of
just
remote
so you
participation.
understand.
I did read it, but I didn't see any limit.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I make the motion.
I don't think that's going to be an issue with it.
We have a
Not
second?
here.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of December 4th as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The minutes are approved.
I'm sorry, who was that? That was you and...
I made the motion.
I seconded it.
Dave
Okay, thank
seconded. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's somebody who had
Oh.
comment here. Yes.
Yes, sir.
I sent you an email today, I don't know if you read it yet.
I saw that. Is that something we need to talk about?
Can I just speak on it for 2 minutes?
Yes, you may. I did see that today, and I thank you for it. That's what I thanked you for when you first walked in.
I'm sorry to extend your meeting. Robert Belbin, I am the chairman of the North Carver Water District. We have the urban renewal plan in the North Carver area. We have a water system that hasn't been functioning, but we need to get it to function in order for the North Carver Water District to provide water to this entity. We made some decisions tonight to open up the water system, to get somebody in there for a new RFP to get the plant up and running. Part of that is, one of the issues with this plant is that it doesn't have enough pressure to put out enough water to everyone, so you get a good spray when you wash your hair. But the developers proposed putting a water tower. He'll pay for it, the engineering and everything to be done. The only place that we really can put it right now, and also that it's be done on town property, is on the coal property. Our MOU with the town of Carver for it allows us to expand our water tank, our water system, and water tower. Not asking for any votes tonight. I want you guys to be aware that this is coming down the pike. That we're going to need to take some more land in the coal property to put a water tower up. And it's got a lot of hurdles to go through, because we also have to come to you guys first, and then we have to go to the airport to get permission, because it'll be like 175 feet high there. And it'll be about 125,000 gallons of water there. But the big thing is the property of taking that land there to use to expand our water system. This is for the future, but you have to look at a couple of things. You have to look at our MOU, you have to look at what it says for parcel B on there, and I did send an email to both you two about this, to look these up. So when we do come to you, that you do have some understandings. I know Sarah Ewens had said to somebody that we can't do that because of the way the legal language is. So that's it. I just want to let you guys be aware what's coming down the pike. It's important for our future. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
How much land about would it be that you'd want to use for that, roughly? Just
I have no, to be totally honest, I have no idea. Where the plant is now on that property, I think to the, if you're looking straight at the plant, when you walk in to the left, there's an area there in between where the road splits off. Right there, that's the highest point area. I originally thought a couple of different other areas, but I don't think they're feasible.
so it'd be a couple acres, maybe?
Oh, easy. But, yeah. But that's it, okay? That's what's coming down the pike.
All right.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll
Thank
look
you.
into
Thanks,
the
Bob.
documents that we have for it, and I'll share what I find with the commission and with you as well.
Right, okay, thank you. We had a motion and a second to adjourn.
We did. Yeah.
I don't know if we,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All right,
second.
and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none.